All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to dig right into the source material, the Bori critical edition of the Mahabharata, to uncover the true story of a warrior you only think you know, the legendary Bhima. When you think of Bhima, what comes to mind? Probably this big, strong guy with a mace, right? Kind of simple, but powerful. That's the version we always see on TV. But the original text, whoa, it tells a completely different story. A much more complex and, frankly, a much scarier one.
Okay, so where do we even start with this? Well, the first thing we've got to do is forget about the mace for a second. Turns out, Bhima's identity as a warrior wasn't just tied to one weapon. He was an absolute master of another one.
So picture this. There's this huge battle going on. Bhima's facing down a whole group of Kaurava brothers, 7 of them, all coming at him at once. And what does he do? Does he grab his famous heavy mace? Nope. He does something nobody saw coming. He picks up his bow. He pulls back the string and knocks, get this, 7 arrows at the same time. The text says they were literally shining like rays from the sun as he took aim at all 7 brothers charging him. And in one single shot, he takes out all 7 of them. Just like that. You see, in the entire Pandava army, he was considered the number 3 archer, right behind the legendary Arjuna and his son Abhimanyu. This isn't just some brute swinging a club. This was a stone-cold marksman. And look, this wasn't just him pecking on some second-string warriors. No way. Bhima regularly went toe-to-toe with the biggest names in the epic, the so-called Maharathas, the absolute legends of the battlefield. He took on the supposedly invincible Bhishma, and he didn't just hold his own. He fought so fiercely that he actually killed Bhishma's charioteer, sending the grandsire's chariot spinning out of control. The whole situation got so bad that Duryodhana himself had to order a rescue party to go save his top general from Bhima's onslaught. Just think about that.
But the real story, the one that truly shows you who Bhima was, is his rivalry with Karna. Man, this is one of the most intense and honestly kinda one-sided conflicts in the entire war.
So let's just look at the scoreboard, right? The text is pretty clear on this. Bhima defeated Karna a staggering 7 times. 7. Compared to Karna's 3 wins over him. Yeah, you heard that right. The warrior many people consider to be Arjuna's equal got completely owned by Bhima, over and over again, often having to run for his life. And he had this system for doing it. It was almost like a tactical checklist. First, he'd use a special arrow to shatter Karna's bow. Boom, disarmed. Then he'd take out the charioteer, then the horses. He would just systematically take apart Karna's entire battle setup, leaving him totally stranded until he had no choice but to jump on someone else's ride just to get away. It got so bad at one point, you can just imagine the panic. Duryodhana himself had to scream this order at his men. Go protect Karna from Vikodara. His arrows are destroying him. They literally had to send a rescue mission for him. You hear that name Duryodhana used, Vrikodara? That was Bhima's other name, and it means wolf-bellied. And that's such a perfect description. It's not about being fat. It means that even though the legends say he could eat a ton of food, he had the physique of a wolf. Lean, powerful, absolutely zero fat, just pure, terrifying muscle. But okay, taking out legends one-on-one is one thing. What Bhima could do to an entire army, well, that's something else entirely. He wasn't just a warrior on the battlefield. He was a force of nature. Get this, on a single day of the war, just one day, he personally hunted down and killed 31 of Duryodhana's brothers, one man against 31 princes in a matter of hours. It's just unimaginable. And here's the really terrifying thing. His own body was his greatest weapon. Sometimes he didn't even bother with a bow or a mace. There's this one scene, and it is absolutely brutal. 2 brothers, Dharmata and Dishkarna, are on a chariot charging right at him. So what does Bhima do? He just runs straight at them, kicks the entire chariot out from under them, and while they're just lying there, stunned, he crushes them to death, with his bare hands and feet. No weapon needed. And the guy narrating the war, Sanjaya, who has this divine vision to see everything. He has to report this, live, to the blind king Dhritarashtra. Can you even imagine hearing that as a father? "Oh king, your sons are being crushed.
one under Bhima's foot, the other in his hands. Horrifying. And who's standing there watching this horror show? All the top brass of the Kaurava army. Karna, Duryodhana, Ashwathama, all these legendary warriors. And they just stood there, completely frozen, unable to do a single thing to stop this one man's rampage. I mean, his reputation alone was a weapon. On the 17th day of the war, he caused 3 entire army divisions, we're talking tens of thousands of soldiers, to just break ranks and run away in terror. From one guy. He didn't just beat them, he shattered their will to even fight. But you can hear all these stories and statistics, but maybe the most powerful proof of what Bhima really was, it doesn't come from his friends or his allies. It comes from the very enemies who had to face him. Listen to what Karna, the man he beat 7 times, had to say about him. He basically said, "You can scare other warriors, make them retreat, but not Bhimasena. That man doesn't even know what fear is, and in a fight, nobody can be as cruel as him." Coming from your biggest rival, that's the ultimate sign of respect and absolute terror. So, when you put it all together, the Bhima from the actual text isn't the simple character we think he is. He was the complete warrior package, a master archer, a brutal hand-to-hand combatant, a strategic nightmare for his enemies, and, let's be honest, the single most feared man on the field of Kurukshetra, period. Which really brings us to a fascinating question, doesn't it? Why has this incredibly complex, strategic, and downright terrifying warrior been boiled down to this one-dimensional, mace-swinging caricature in so many of the stories we hear today? And what exactly do we lose when we forget who the real Bhimasena actually was?